Hello, and welcome to my workshop. I'm Andy Anderson. This will be the next phase of covering the Pitts S1 using Stewart Products EcoBond and their lightweight SF104 fabric. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through this on the workbench here and show you how I do that. First off, I wanted to show you that the wing panel I'm going to be working on is here. And I've taken it all apart, taken the ailerons off, and I wanted to show you some things about this that's kind of unique for my aircraft. This aileron has 3D printed the black face of the aileron, and on the wing, a 3D printed receptacle here, which closes up the gap. And as I have it set, the ailerons will travel across the whole rotation, which is about 51 degrees of deflection, with a perfectly 1 millimeter gap in between. And that was something I was trying to achieve, and I got it. Why I show you that is because as I cover this, there's going to be a need to roll the fabric under and attach it inside there. The real interesting part about that is the glue attaches to everything. If you get it on your fingers, you can get it off. If you get it on your shirt, you can't get it off, just so you know. So this stuff, once it gets onto the wing and I put it on properly, it won't come off. So that's just an opening segment. What I've done is I've taken the wing panel and laid it out. Let me set this up here out of the way and this out of the way. I've taken the wing panel and I've already placed it onto the fabric here. This is the lightweight fabric. I placed it onto the fabric and got it all put in there. And before I started this up, I went ahead and marked on the fabric with a pencil my cut line that I want to cut in both directions. That way I'm not making a big mistake while you're watching. So that's ready to be cut. As you see, I've wrapped the wing underneath and up on top, and it's one piece all the way from the trailing edge back to the trailing edge across the leading edge. I will not be adhering it to the leading edge because there's no need. You'll see as I go through this. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off and cut the fabric using my trusty dusty fabric. We can move this out of the way for now. It doesn't need to be here. So I've got my scissors that I use just for fabric, and I'm going to go ahead and pick up a spot here at the corner where it's going to be cut and cut down through. So there's my piece, and let me get rid of this excess fabric. All right, so there we are. I've got the fabric laid out here. Not sure you can see it real well, but in the middle of the fabric here, you can see there's a lot of crease lines that have been put in there because of the way it was folded. I don't know if I did it or somebody else did it. It didn't really matter. Those will come out. So not to worry about those creases so much. Try not to do that as much as I can, but it's going to happen. So let me move this out of the way so I can bring in the wing panel and the glue and the tools necessary to put this on. The first thing I'm going to do, actually the first thing I'm not going to do is I'm not going to wear a respirator. I'm not going to wear gloves. I'm not going to use white paper towels. I'm going to use Eco Prime, or I'm sorry, Eco Bond, and a 3/8 inch brush, and I got a cup in my holder here, and uh, that's to put the glue in, and I can stack those if I want to, as many as I want. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a cup of water on the bench, and that's going to be so I can put the brush into it and keep it wet without it drying out. So that's the distilled water, and I'll set that up out of the way so I don't tip it over. And I'm going to go ahead and put in some Eco Bond into the cup here, and not a lot. Doesn't take a lot. It really doesn't take a lot. Now I'm going to go around the perimeter of the wing panel and put glue down that the fabric is going to go lay down into. So just dip it into the Eco Bond and put it down the perimeter in a fashion like this. Try to be as neat as I can, but it's just a matter of getting that on there so that you can use it later to put the fabric on and more Eco Bond. And that will go through and lock it all in. For those who do typical iron-on covering for model aircraft, you tack it to the trailing edge, and then you roll around from the leading edge back to the trailing edge, and you cover over at the top of that. You'll see now that I don't have to do that with this. This stuff will glue right up to the edge and not peel off. So as I get to the places like this, along the opening of the aileron, I don't have to fold it over to the top of the aircraft. The fact that it's there in the Eco Bond laying down in it, it will stick to it straight, and I can cut directly across it so that I don't have a frayed edge, because the Eco Bond will keep it from fraying. It's strong enough that it'll keep it there without peeling off. I dare say I'd have a hard time trying to get this off the aircraft after it's done. So I don't worry too much about that. So I'm going to go around and put this all around the perimeter, top, bottom, root, and tip, but not the leading edge. So go ahead and do that. Get this done. Okay, so there's the outline, the perimeter of the wings all set up with Eco Bond. I'm going to go ahead and touch up this trailing edge here and make sure it's covered. And one other place I want to go over is the aileron pockets. So for these, still going to go wrap this around inside. So I want to put a line of Eco Bond inside here, inside the hinge line, both sides, so that when I finish the aileron socket area, I can wrap it around inside and it seals it up better. I don't know that I have to do this, but I am going to do this. So we finish doing this here, and then I'll show you the next step. So there you have it. The whole perimeter is done. This is now ready for putting on the fabric. What I'm going to do right now is I'm going to protect the EcoBond I have out, not only on the brush by putting it into the cup of water, keeping that moist, but also going to take one of the pieces of blue shop towel. I'm going to wet it with water. I'm going to place it over top of the cup that I'm using for dipping this out of, so it doesn't dry up. It's in the way of I have a mini split here blowing down on my workbench, and it would easily dry that out to the point where I had to add water to it, and less water I have to add, the better it is. So there's my wing panel. It's basically dry. It's ready for putting on the fabric and attaching it with EcoBond from here. We set this aside, clean off any kind of drips that I have on the bench so it doesn't get into the fabric. And just like I mentioned before, this is gummy until it cures, and then it's not. While it's in the gummy stage, you can peel it off. You can wipe it off, and that's what I just did. Let me move this water out of the way because I'm going to knock it over with the fabric when I pull it across. Here's my fabric. Back on the bench. I'm going to need my EcoBond in its container and blue rags for the next step. So move this up out of the way and bring the wing panel in such that the trailing edge of the wing is towards me here, and the excess amount of covering is up away from me. And put the wing underneath there so that the excess is out there, and I have the fabric laying over the trailing edge and it will wrap around the leading edge. So I have it all laid out, getting ready to do the next piece. So I'm back and took a little break while the layer of EcoBond I put down around the perimeter set up and dried. I've been gone for about half hour or so. It's all past any kind of tacky. It's ready to go. I also went around just real quick and used a piece of eraser to catch a couple little globs that I had cut on there and clean those off because I didn't want them showing up in the final product. So I'm ready now to go ahead and put this fabric on, and I'm going to start on the trailing edge and then get that all tacked down, and then pull it back around to the other side on the upper side of the wing to the trailing edge and pull it tight and get that tacked down on the other side. I do have these wrinkles that I'm going to have to contend with, so my plan for that is to pull them tight down here after I've secured the other side, so I can make sure it stays tight. That'll pull it out as I put down the EcoBond as I move along. So this is how I do it, and this is the way I've learned to do it. from watching it on YouTube and watching their site. I'm going to go ahead and put this down to the trailing edge. I'm sorry, the root of the wing, and put it on here. So putting it on to there and putting it down some of the EcoBond, letting it soak through here, and then this is where the blue shop towels come into play, using those to wipe off the excess, and that takes care of all the excess glue, and it sets it down inside and gets the glue all the way through the fabric down to the wing panel. So after I do that, I lift up the fabric, put down some more EcoBond on top of what's under there, lay the fabric down on top of it, and then use the brush to pull it up through, and follow it with a clean blue towel and wipe it down to clear off any excess, and have it soak through to attach the fabric to the glue below. Then you have a glue to glue connection underneath the fabric, or between the fabric, and that's what it's looking for. So a little bit more down here up to the leading edge, so that I can lay this fabric down in there, push it through with the brush, let it sink through, and then once again use the blue towels to wipe it off, clean off any excess glue, push the fabric through with the glue to the wing panel. So that one is there. We go ahead and straighten this out on here and do the trailing edge and get that locked in. So a little bit of glue on the trailing edge, which, by the way, I found that the pretty interesting part of this whole thing is, once you have the glued down, if you don't like it, you can pick it back up again and it'll re-glue back down. You can do that just about anywhere along the line here, and it will be able to put back down again. So if you don't like it, you're not done. It's not permanent glue yet. That's down the line when it's all shrunk down and in place. So if I don't like this where it's at, easily just pick it up, pull it tight, and that can now be set back in using the brush. I'd prefer doing that, and a little more EcoBond, put it down through, wipe it off with a blue towel, that cleans off all the excess glue. Now that's all set there. I'm going to go ahead and round the corner to get me up to the trailing edge around the aileron by lifting this up, putting some glue down in there, let that set in, and make sure this is all still glued down along the way here. Now, somebody might find out that I'm doing this all wrong, which is kind of why I'm doing this, because if somebody takes a notice of this and says, you need to do something different here, then that'd be okay. You just have to balance that against, are they talking for certified aircraft, or are they talking for model aircraft? If they're talking certified, okay, got it. If you're talking for model aircraft, I'm going to be a little more lenient with myself. So now I've got that down there at the root. Now I can do a little tugging on this down here to hopefully take care of some of these wrinkles that I've come across. So can I think I can pull this somewhat tight down here and stretch that wrinkle out. I think I can. So let me give this a try. I do believe, my heart of hearts, that I can go directly down through the fabric to the glue below without having to pick it all up again. And it'll send the glue down there, penetrate down through the fabric to the glue below, and allow me to adhere that after I run the blue towel down across it, shop towel. If that doesn't work, I'll be doing an edit to the video to do it the right way. But for now, I think it's going to work. As you can see, I'm using my hands. I'm not necessarily using gloves because I don't need them. This stuff is easy to work with. So that's down. And what I'll do eventually is if it doesn't go down, I'll apply heat with the iron to get it into position. So putting down enough glue that will go down through the fabric, so I don't have to pick it all back up again and have to re-glue every time. And I take my paper towel that's still good and work that, work that out. Work this one out so that it's not there. That's the wrinkle down here. Work that down to get it to stick down. And then I'm past all those wrinkles that are on there, and I can start gluing past that point much easier. Looks like I might have to re-glue one more time, just because it's not setting down like I want it to. But I want to get this glued here. Past the wrinkles. I want to get it to stick down well. So the wrinkles are no longer being bunched up. If I find out that I shouldn't be putting glue down through the fabric to do this, I'll let you know later. But I think I'm okay. I do know once you put it down with glue and it's adhered all the way through, you it won't melt itself back through again. But while it's wet here, I believe I can. So somebody who sees this from Stewart Products, who does this for full size, could look at it and say, oh, you can't do that. Well, I dare say I can if it works, but it may not be certifiable. But I'm not doing this to certify anything. I'm just doing this to create the image of an aircraft in model form. 44% scale, model form. So far, looks like I've been fairly successful. If not, I'll touch it with an iron and shrink it up, heat it down to hold it, and go from there. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to take a break and heat up my irons. I'll be right back. Okay, so I plugged in the irons. They're heated up to 250 degrees, and I'm going to go ahead and try to make sure these wrinkles are moved out of the way. So you can put this right on where I just left off, and it'll make sure that glue is set in there, and that the wrinkles are no longer there. I also want to just make sure that the root is all set and pushed down dry using an iron, so that when I pull against it, I'm not going to tug it off of its edge down there. Not sure it would or wouldn't, but I would just want to make sure it doesn't. So, as with any of the model aircraft covering that I do, I like to tighten it up down at the or put it down at the root and work towards the tip, pulling it tight to remove as many wrinkles as possible. And then I can put it on and then shrink it down. This doesn't shrink a whole lot at 250 degrees, but it shrinks exactly what it needs to be. So I'm going to go ahead and continue working this down. So keep going with some more glue. That's glued down. Pull as much tension on this as I can to get wrinkles out here. Now here in a little while, what I'm going to do once this is all done, going around here, I'm going to mix up a batch of EcoBond at 3:1, 3 parts EcoBond, 1 part distilled water, just to make it a little bit thinner. And I find that when I do that, and they recommend doing this using water to thin it out to that ratio. I find if I do that and I go along all the excess edges where I'm going to be cutting away the fabric from the wing, it makes a very straight, even cut and no fraying. And kind of what I want to make sure I get. I don't want any fraying of this fabric. So I'm going to go around the whole perimeter of it with a 3:1 watered down solution of EcoBond, and let it dry. It won't take very long. Once I do that, I can go ahead and cut away all the excess material whenever I want to, using that as a cut edge. That worked out really well when I did it. And so here I am, working down all the wrinkles down to the corner, which now they're gone, and pushing that in place all the way down. If it lifts up along the way, heat will put it back down. But right now, that's it. This has been put down and ready for shrinking at 250 degrees. So I'm going to go ahead and let this dry for a little while, and I'll come back and do the 3:1 spread around the perimeter.